All right. So welcome everyone. We are PACE, Pacific Asian Consortium and Employment, and we have our first session with doing business with the state of California. So welcome everyone. I know we did this last year, and so if you are back, welcome again. And if you are new, thank you for joining us, and you will learn a whole bunch of information. So we will have our first session this week, and we have two more sessions, one next week and the week after that. And so we will get started. All right. So first, a couple of housekeeping items. So make sure you are on listening mode. And then also please use the chat function to introduce yourselves. You can ask questions there, but it'll be easier if you can put your questions down on the Q&A session so we don't miss it. And then we will provide a webinar recording after this. So some people have asked if we can do a recording. Yes, we will. And I think we may be able to provide slides as well. We can ask our guest speaker, Chad, if we will be able to have the slides later on, but at least we will have the recording. Couple of information about PACE. So PACE is Pacific Asian Consortium and Employment, and we are a nonprofit organization that is based in downtown LA. And so we have celebrated our 50th anniversary last year. So we've been around for a while, and I am in particular, I'm part of the Business Development Center, where we work with entrepreneurs and business owners like you with regards to growing your business. And we offer a lot of these educational seminars, a lot of stuff on procurement, but then we also have information on just generally how to run your business. So welcome. And then in particular, I am part of the procurement team, and we run a program called ProcureLA. So ProcureLA is a program that we run in conjunction with the City of LA Mayor Karen Bass's office. And what we do is we connect small businesses to the big opportunities that are in LA, right? So we are all aware of the Olympics that are happening in 2028, but then there are also some really cool and exciting things that are happening before that, such as FIFA this year, NFL, NBA, and a whole bunch of different stuff, along with the general procurement things that we all know about in a general day-to-day basis. So, in order to be part of ProcureLA, you must be a for-profit business that is operating within the city, and then you must have an active BTRC or tax registration ID, and then you have to be operating from a brick and mortar. However, a biggest question that we get what if we don't meet any of those requirements? It's okay because through PACE we have other programs on a procurement basis that we can help you with. So what I do recommend is just go to procurela.com, register your business, and then we will have a counselor reach out to you. And I always forget to mention this, but all our services through PACE is free of charge because we receive grants from different levels of government. So ProcureLA, we get grants from the city, whether it's from the city, federal or state. That's why we're able to provide these services free of charge. So please, please use us, and then make sure, we will be happy to help. And so, with that said, I'd like to turn over our presentation to our guest speaker from the California Department of General Services, Chad Wright, who will talk to us more about the opportunities that are going on with the state of California.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, Christina. Hi,
Of course.
everyone. My name is Chad Wright. I hope everybody's able to see my screen. I think I'm sharing the wrong screen, aren't I? Yes, I am. Oh, let me fix that. Give me one sec. Let me try this again. Okay, share. There we go. That's better. My apologies. All right. So, everyone, welcome. Good afternoon. Great to see such a large turnout. My name is Chad Wright. I am a business outreach liaison with the California Department of General Services in the Office of Small Business and DVBE Services. I'm going to cover how to do business with the state of California. It's kind of an introductory workshop for us to kind of give you a bit of background on contracting with the state of California. Now, um, Christina did allude to some subsequent workshops. One next week, I think it's going to be an online certification workshop. A couple of coworkers will be handling that one. So information you receive today may help you lead you into that workshop next week. So take advantage if you can, if you're not already certified with the state, and I'll explain why you may want to do that. So we've got a lot of slides to get through, and I'm going to try to jump right into it. So I will share my contact information in my slides, as well as I've got a kind of a one-page document with some hyperlinks that I'm going to reference. So, it'll be okay. I'll send those over to Christina at Pace, as well as that one-page document. Additionally, let's try to use the Q&A for questions. I'm going to have some breaks in the workshop. So throw your questions into the Q&A, not the chat, and we'll try to get those answered. All right, so this is what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about the Small Business and DVBE program, the Disabled Veteran Business Enterprise Program. Certification eligibility, what it takes to become certified, the benefits, Cali Procure, and that's something you're going to need to remember. If you remember one thing from today, it's Cali Procure, because that is where everything is going to work from. That is the connection point for all things that I will present today. I'm going to talk about small business advocates, emergency registry, and what exactly does commercially useful function mean. So before we get into the meat of the presentation, it's important for you to know that the state has a go action mandate to contract 25% of its dollars, 25% of its contract dollars with certified small businesses, and 3% of its dollars with disabled veteran business enterprises. Now, these certifications are provided by the state. There's no cost for the certifications, but these aren't really goals. They're actually mandates. So you really got to keep that in mind as well. So see how the state has been doing the last fiscal year. We're waiting on this fiscal year's, or the most recent fiscal year's, numbers to be done. But for last fiscal year, which is 23 to 24, the state contracted $3.5 billion with certified small businesses, over $600 million with DVBEs. So the state as a whole did hit their contract mandates, but I will let you know that not all departments within the state hit those goals, because the state as a goal is under that mandate, but then the departments within the state. So Department of General Services, where I work, Caltrans, Department of State Hospitals, Highway Patrol, Department of Water Resources, Cal Fire, etc. Every one of those individual departments, all the nearly 200 or so different departments within the state, are obligated to contract 25 and 3 as well. And there is, not all the departments hit that, but overall, the state has met those requirements. So now let's look at these certifications. So I would say the state offers 2 certifications, but it's technically 3. So we have a small business, and then a small business for the purpose of public works, and a DVBE certification. So now if you're newer to government contracting, or you're just stepping into that world, you may be asking about, oh, what about women business enterprises, or minority business enterprises, or disadvantaged business enterprise certifications? The state does not actually administer any of those. And the DBE certification is managed actually by Caltrans, but it's actually a federal certification. So when federal dollars are involved, that DBE, the disadvantaged business enterprise, it does apply. Is Supplier Clearinghouse, which is administered by the utilities. They do offer other certifications for women businesses, minority businesses, etc. There are other entities that do provide those certifications, but through the state of California itself, there is only small business for the purpose of public works, and DVBE. And it can be a little bit confusing. Just want to make sure we're all talking about the same topics here. Okay, so certification benefits. If you do get certified, 5% bid preference for a small business when you're competing against a non-certified firm, obviously. Up to a 5% bid preference for DVBEs. And I say up to is because that it could be the DVBE preference could be a 0 on one contract, could be a 3 on another contract. It could be 5% on another. Now, both of those certifications have a maximum value of $50,000. However, if you are eligible for the DVBE and the SB, I would highly, highly encourage you to get both because you can combine them. So potentially there could be a contract that you could have a 10% bid preference if you are DVBE and SB eligible. Some other great benefits, exclusive contract opportunities. One of them, call it an SB option or a DVB option. Those are contracts that are only available to certified firms. Those contract vehicles are there to help departments hit those 25% goals. So an SB option contract goes up to $250,000. So, a decent size contract. You get some assistance with prompt payment. So if the state has 45 days to pay you if you submit a clean invoice. If they don't, there's penalties that they owe you what they owe you plus penalties. If you are a certified firm, it's kind of more of a plus on the penalties. So you get an extra penalty or a penalty payment if the state is late on the invoice. Reciprocity partners in the LA area. This is a great opportunities. So reciprocity partners are local governments. Oh, excuse me. Sorry. Are local governments that recognize and utilize our small business certification. And so the city of LA, county of LA, LA Metro, LAUSD, and many others in the LA County area actually recognize our small business certification. So you can get certified with the state, and it's actually a really easy certification to receive, and then you can leverage it at the local level. So if state contracting isn't the perfect fit, or you want to work your way up to state contracting, get certified with us, work it at the local level, and then work your way up to working with the state. Now, prime contractors. So a prime contractor, maybe they're not certified, but if you have the certification, they can take advantage and apply your 5% bid preference to their bid, so long as you are working as a subcontractor for that prime and providing a commercial useful function. And I'll talk about that a little bit later. And then we have advocates, SBDVB advocates. So those are folks that work at particular department at all the departments, and they're there to be a point of contact for you as a small business trying to do business with that particular department. They can help you troubleshoot issues, help you if you have prompt payment issues. They're a point of contact for that. I'll talk about advocates in slides going forward. Okay, so eligibility requirements. Small business, independently owned and operated, not dominant in the field of operation. Main things. Principal office is located in the state of California. The owners are located in the state of California, meaning you pay your taxes in the state of California. Business pays its taxes in the state of California. You have 100 or fewer employees, and then gross annual receipts based on your federal tax returns is less than $18 million with affiliates. Now, that means if you have an controlling interest in other businesses, they're going to want to see those tax returns for those other businesses to make sure that cumulatively that you don't exceed $18 million. Now, if you're a manufacturer, there is no GARS cap. The employee count still does apply, though. Now, I indicated that I felt like there's kind of really two certifications, small business and DVBE. but technically there is a third, that small business for the purpose of public works. Now, this is for folks that are in the construction industry. You have an A license, B license, C, D license. Um, Same requirements on the prior slide that I just discussed, except for the employee count. You're allowed 200 employees and a gross annual receipts of $43 million or less than $43 million. And that is simply because the nature of the industry is much more expensive to, build schools and hospitals and, put in sewer lines than it is to sell copy paper. So that's why the gross annual receipts value is higher. It's going to take more employees to perform such work, and that's why the employee count is higher. Um, Now, that gross annual receipts for small business and small business for the purpose of public works is an average of over the 3 prior years. So maybe you're over 1 year, but so long as the average of the other 2 years has your average below that GARS cap, then you're good to go. Okay, so now just a kind of a point of clarity here too, a point of information. So if you are a contractor, you're licensed through CSLB, unless you're already over that employee count or that GARS cap, just to go for the regular small business, because a regular small business certification does allow you to work on public works contracts. But maybe if you did get the SBPW, then you are not eligible. You are ineligible to work on non-public works contracts. So you can you can get both, but just go for the regular SB. Ideally, you grow into the SBPW certification. Okay, DVBE, quite a bit different. That is the requirements: 10% service-connected disability from the owners, at least 51% owned by a disabled veteran or veterans. And each one of those disabled veterans need at least a 10% service-connected disability. As you can see there, it's 100% if it's an LLC. The owners must reside in the state of California, just like small business, but the business can actually be outside of the state of California. It just has to be within the United States. And then the business needs to be managed and operated by disabled veterans. So a little bit different. There is no GARS cap, as you can see. There's no employee count, service-connected disability, 51% ownership, owners reside in the state, and you are eligible for DVBE certifications. So you could be doing $100 million a year and still be eligible for that DVBE certification in the state size. Okay. Do we have any questions? I'm going to look into Q&A and see what we have there.
Um,
Okay. I can see them here. Go ahead.
Yeah, so I can read off some of the questions. I don't know if
Okay.
you saw. So first, I can answer the first one. Are there any workshops to learn how to read and sift through RFPs? So we have had workshops. There should be in our PACE e-library. Yeah, you can find workshops that way, and then we also will have some upcoming workshops. But then, if you want to do one-on-one, you can also reach out to us, and I'll give you our information later on, and we can do one-on-one and help you sift through and read proposals.
Yeah. So as I just want to clarify, yeah, PACE is a great resource for that. The state, actually, we don't offer those types of services. We can help you find opportunities, but in terms of how to respond to an RFP, PACE, and such entities, that's your point of contact for those types of things.
Yes, yeah, thank you. And then second question, do spouses of disabled veterans qualify?
So the owners of the business, 51% ownership must be a veteran with a service-connected disability. So a spouse could be an owner, but if that spouse owns 51% and she does not, or he does not have a service-connected disability, then that brings you're missing the threshold point there. So you need to be at least 51% owned by a veteran or veterans with a service-connected disability.
Yes. Okay. And there are so many NAICS codes, which are industry codes. That's the that's the 25% apply to individual categories or to the state's procurement budget overall.
Okay, so good question. It's going to be brought up. I'm going to talk about it in a little bit. You're referencing NAICS. That's great on the federal and many other governments. The state does not use NAICS. I will talk about the codes that the state uses. Unless you are a manufacturer, then the state will look at NAICS codes. But the state uses United Nations Standards Products and Services Codes, or UNSPSCs. But it's the overall budget to kind of answer the question.
Okay. And maybe this is another one that you'll talk about it later on, but I'm new to being a licensed business owner. Can you
Yep.
show me where to find previously awarded bids that I can utilize as a guide to learn about the process and be successful?
Yes, we will cover that. We will cover
Okay.
that, Daryl. And then you can also even schedule one-on-ones with us. I'll have a slide on that as well. You could have one-on-one consult with myself and any of my coworkers to help you figure that out.
Okay. Yeah, so for the SB qualifiers, a small business qualification under gross annual receipts, does that also include the overall assets of the owners?
It's probably going to depend on the ownership structure of the business. So sole prop, it probably would come in. Um, but I'm not going to answer that question directly. So certification folks are the ones that could answer that question better. And you could send them an email, or if you're in Cali Procure under the help tab, there is and I will share that in a one-page document. Certification folks are the better ones at answering these types of technical questions. So, but a sole prop probably because your funds are commingled. But if the business is separate, you've got an LLC or a corporation, and then it's probably going to be a separate. But
Hmm,
again, I'll let certification answer that question.
got it. Okay. And then how does a company file for eligibility if we started after March 2020? So they started July 2020.
Any business, so long as you are a business, can apply for certification. I have had numerous consultations with businesses that organized their business 2 weeks ago, and now they're applying for certification today. You're just going to need to provide documentation to the state to identify, to illustrate that you are a business and that you have a business license or reseller's permit. You're going to have to provide those types of business documents that show that you actually have a legitimate business.
Okay. And so are these opportunities also available in sam.gov? So if
Rosalind,
we,
no,
yeah.
no. I mentioned Cali Procure. That's where we're going to go, Rosalind. I'll show you where opportunities exist on Cali Procure. That's for the
Great.
state. That's for the state.
Yeah. And then
Sam.gov is
so
federal. Okay.
right. And then the business, so her business is in the city of Long Beach, and does she qualify?
Sure, of course. Absolutely. If your business is located within the state of California, you're eligible to become small business certified or DVBE certified. Um, Actually, the city of Long Beach and the Port of Long Beach are reciprocity partners with the state certification as well.
Okay. And do you work specifically? So these are pretty specific, working with realtors or voiceover
I
artists.
believe, yeah, I believe that the state has voiceover artists. I don't know. I mean, because there's a lot of contracts that the state has entered, thousands and thousands and thousands a year. I don't know all the different ones, but realtors for sure, voiceover artists possibly, depending upon what the need is.
Okay. And this is a good question. Are there any hard costs to
No,
certify with the state? Yeah,
no.
it's all free. Yes.
Yep, the state certification is free, other than the time that you need to do the application, and Sam.gov is got no bearing on your state certification. Okay, so um, that's a federal certification, it's a separate process. This is a state certification, it's a separate process.
Okay. Right. And then I think there's another question, but I think you will address this later on. Difference between the industry code, the NICS
Yep,
code, and then the UNSPs. Yeah.
yep,
So I
we'll
think
talk about that. Yep.
yes. So I think for now, let's proceed, and then we can go
Okay.
through the other questions later.
Okay, great. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yep. Okay, let's get into it. So I did mention, so Cali Procure is where everything is going to be. That's where you're going to find information about, well, everything. Write this webpage down, caleprocure.ca.gov. That's E as an electronic, okay? California Electronic Procurement. That's what that stands for, .ca.gov. Okay, so this is where you're going to do everything. This is where you're going to register your business to do business with the state of California. So whether you are a big business or a small business, you're in state or you're out of state, every business is going to have to register in Cali Procure. Um, take you 10 minutes. You're going to have to provide, well, I'll talk about what you're going to have to provide in that. Then apply for certification. Maximum of an hour and a half. I would be confident that you could do it in maybe an hour or less. Actually, probably less if you have got the documents in advance, and I'll talk about that. You can find solicitations. So you're not going to find, these are state of California contracts. So you're not going to find anything from the federal government. You're not going to find anything from the city of, the county of, a school board. These are all state of California contracts. Okay, so if you're looking for the city of, you're gonna have to go to their procurement page. Um, you can receive notifications for solicitations, which is great. You can get emails sent directly to you. If you are certified, you can appear in searches by state buyers. So when buyers are looking to have an SB option contract, which I referenced earlier, a contract only available to certified small businesses. Um, that procurement official, they may go into Cali Procure and try to find the matching businesses based on UNSPSC codes or keywords and solicit an offer from the business and not actually post a publicly advertised contract. So maybe a little bit different acquisition method. And you need to be aware of that. You can post an ad if you're a sub or a prime, you're looking for somebody to subcontract with or partner with. There's great information there. Access public procurement information. That's where you're going to be able to do a deep dive into historical search on acquisitions by the state for the codes that apply to your business, and you can figure out, okay, what business buys, how do they buy, etc. And we can I'll touch on that a little bit. Training and resources, and of course, all of this is at no cost to you. Okay, so this is what you got to do. This is a link. This is what Cali Procure looks like. If you have an account, you're going to log in. If you don't, you're going to register. You can click on that link that I've highlighted there. It's going to take you to here. You're going to click New Bidder Registration, unless you already have an account. And then when you do register your business, so you're creating essentially two profiles. You're creating a registration profile, and then ideally a certification profile later. Registration profile comes first. Every business, big, small, in-state, out-of-state, has a registration profile or a notification profile. We kind of call them the same, so they're synonyms. You're going to need to provide a tax ID, your EIN, sole prop. If you're a sole prop, you're going to be providing your social security information, your company name, contact person, email, telephone, webpage, basic information. You're going to create a user ID, and then you're going to be registered. I mean, it's going to take you 5 minutes. The hardest thing would be just finding the document that has your EIN on there, but maybe you know that off the top of your head. And once you do that, boop, you're going to be a registered business. But when you're going through that registration process, the state may ask you for, it's voluntary information, supplier diversity information. Okay, it has no bearing on your contract. It does ask about business owners, ethnicity, race, gender, etc. You can modify it however you want, but it will be displayed on your Cali Procure profile. Um, this is because in my first couple of slides, I talked about the state only has a small business and a DVBE certification. We have no minority business, women-owned business, DBE certification at the state level. Okay. And that is because of Proposition 209, which prohibits the state from providing any preferential treatment to anybody, business, etc., for contracts based on race, gender, ethnicity, etc. So working kind of, with the knowledge of limitations of Proposition 209, that we can only provide preferential treatment to businesses based on small and disabled veteran status. In 2022, the Department of General Services began collecting this diversity information from every business in Cali Procure and as you register. This data basically is there to help us evaluate the effectiveness of our existing outreach programs and efforts. Because the bottom line is we want the businesses that are doing business with the state of California to look like the people of the state of California so that there is some continuity between the two. And if you're, no matter where you come from, if you're a small business in the state of California, we want you to be representative of the state of California. So that is kind of the again the reason that we are collecting this voluntary information. Okay, so you've gone through, you've created a user account, and then you're going to come back here, and it's going to email you a temporary password. You're going to come back, you're going to enter the user ID that you created. So got to write it down somewhere. You're going to enter in your temporary password, then you're going to have to create a new password. Be ready. It's going to be a long one. It's going to, I think it's 16 characters, letters, numbers, special characters, all that kind of thing. But it's 16 characters. So get creative with your Cali Procure profile. Okay. This is what it'll look like. If you have a notification profile, you will see that there is no certification record there. So you're going to click on Get Started or Apply for Certification. And then you want to read through, it's going to take you to this page. If you click on the link, it's going to take you to this page, and it's going to provide you the eligibility requirements for small business and DVBE. I already talked about that. You and your business need to be in the state, less than $18 million, less than 101 employees, and you're pretty much small business eligible. DVBE, you are located in the state, and you have service-connected disability of at least 10%, and you own at least, or all service-connected or veterans with that service-connected disability own at least 51%, then you can apply for that DVBE certification. Be prepared to add keywords, UNSP. I'll take that on the next slide. But what I really want to talk about here is step 3, what you're going to need to provide. Tax returns for the last 3 years. Again, if your business hasn't been in business for 3 years, that's okay. In the application process, you're going to indicate when your business was created. You're going to have to provide those business documents. So you have no tax returns to submit because you haven't filed taxes ever for your business yet. That's okay. You're going to need to provide your EIN letter, a copy of your EIN letter. And if you do have employees, your DE9Cs showing that, hey, I employ 5 people, 6 people, whatever it is, and that you submit that information that gets submitted to the EDD once a quarter. So you're going to see the last 4 of those. But then you can see there's that right above the red marking there. There's a small business document requirements and DVB document requirements. So there, depending upon your business structure, you're going to provide some other documents as well. So like a statement of information or whatever, depending upon your business structure. So you have to click on that link to find that information as well. So you want to make sure you have all of those before you apply. If you're in the application process and you don't have them, you have to go back. It's okay. You can pause your application, close out, log back in, and then submit the documents as you have them. All right. So let's talk about your keywords and UNSPICs. There's been some reference to NAICS. I want to make clear we're talking UNSPSCs here for the state of California. So these are keywords are what they are, what they seem like they are. Okay, they describe a good or a service, and UNSPSCs do that same thing, but with a numeric way, in a code way. It just allows, buyers to find businesses, and it creates more opportunities for you. And you can edit these at any time. So I believe at the federal level, when you apply for small business, you based on the NAICS industry, that's going to determine what small business truly is, So it may be a different threshold depending upon the industry on the NAICS code. But the state, the threshold is $18 million, 100 employees, yeah, more or less. Okay. And the UNSPSC codes, you can change them at any time. You could have a DBA under so you could be doing public works, but then I'm going to sell copy paper too. If you had that, you could still, if you're so long as you're working under that same EIN, you have a DBA. Okay, so keywords. So to describe a business, you pick the words. You can change them at any time, and prefer to use like it's an individual word to describe what you do. But you want to use synonyms because you don't know how the buyer is going to be looking you up. You can see a great example: garbage, trash, waste, refuse. Those four all kind of mean the same thing. Maybe somebody is using a term that you're not using. But I want to be very clear on this. And you can use, multi-word like IT or information technology or office supplies, etc. Our system, Cali Procure, has great data in there, but it doesn't have any logical lookup. It does an exact code lookup. So when somebody types in the word garbage, it's looking for those 7 exact characters in that exact sequence. There's no algorithm. There is no this is nearby. Like when you run a search on Google, it kind of gives you what it's thinking or what it thinks you want to get, what you're trying to find. This is an exact code or exact character match in Cali Procure. So you need to be very specific, and you're going to have to come up with those layperson terms and that technical jargon that a buyer may or may not use. So you just got to kind of cover all your bases, do a bit of thinking on that process as you're adding them. Now we're talking UNSPSCs, United Nations Standards Products and Services. So 8-digit number identifies a good or service, does not describe an industry like the NAICS codes do. Okay, so there is a code for copy paper. There is a code for fax paper. There is another code for vellum paper. There's another code for onion skin paper. Okay. And then there's codes for, services as well, obviously, and materials and everything. So the state uses more than 14,000 codes. Okay. So you're going to have to make sure you're finding the right ones. And actually, keywords may be able to help you find the appropriate code. But UNSPSCs are used for the automated notifications. So when you have a profile in Cali Procure, as when you're certified, you're going to have a notification profile and a certification profile. The notification profile is going to run off these UNSPSCs. The certification profile, if you're eligible, is going to be publicly viewable, and you're going to be able to have those keywords and then codes as well. It's a little bit confusing, but this is kind of the way the codes are laid out. Just kind of let you know. All right. The state kind of wants to operate at the level 4 as much as possible, but maybe level 3, the class and commodity codes. So you can see here, it's an 8-digit code, and the more non-zeros you get, the more specific the code becomes. So you can see here 14 trailed by 6 zeros is just paper materials and products, but 14, 11, 15, 07 is printer or copier paper. And again, like I said, there's a different code for fax paper and depending upon what you sell. So you really want to try to work in that level 4, maybe level 3 of the code, because again, a buyer, if they're looking for a business, they're going to use keywords, but they also may use codes. And if you have the level 3 code, like we show here, thinking, oh yeah, well, I sell everything underneath that. It doesn't apply because if the buyer does a search at the level three and you have the codes at the level four, that's not a match, or vice versa. So you want to make sure you've kind of got your bases covered on those. So if you do any of the level fours, include that level three that's associated with it. And it's a little bit confusing, but okay. Any questions on what did we talk about? Cali Procure registration, supplier diversity, keywords, codes.
Yeah, so if you can quickly, because there's some questions on different types of certification. So, for example, is this SB certification the same as the LSBE, which is given by the County of LA? And then also whether you accept the WBE or the WOSBE certification by WeBank.
No, state doesn't use those. The let me think here. So no, again, state only accepts small business, disabled veteran business certifications. Those are the only two that the state provides, and the state can provide an incentive for having or provide a benefit for having. Those are the only, well, technically only three: small business for the purpose of public works, and DVBE. That's it.
Okay,
So
great. And
the
then,
the LSB, just the local small business, that is probably offered by the county or the city within your jurisdiction. So if you are in LA County, I think that LA County and the city of LA, they may offer a local small business certification. The great thing is you take your state certification, and if you happen to be within that entity's jurisdiction, you're in that zip code or the streets or whatever that are covered by that, then you may be eligible for the local small business enterprise. Leveraging your state certification at the local level. You'll have to check with the issuing entity for verification, though.
yes, and what Chad is talking about is that if there may be some reciprocity,
Hmm.
yeah, that they may accept the DGS, the small business certification in lieu of the LSBE or whatever local one that you have.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, and then there are a lot of questions about specific industries that are included in Cal eProcure. So I don't know if that's something that will be covered later
Ah,
on or
Um, how do we connect with contracts? Let's get through this presentation, and then we may be able to answer. I can't provide. Yeah, the state does buy hospital equipment. The state's a big buyer. We buy everything,
Mhm.
almost everything. So we buy school buses, we buy hospitals, we buy copy paper, we buy management, consultative services and IT services. State buys a lot of different things. So, and the state, if you're like a brick and mortar and you sell, you're a restaurant, well, that may be a bit of more of a challenge. Okay, you've got to think, would the state buy that? And you could always do a little bit of research, and I can show you where you can do that kind of research in the next
Yeah.
in subsequent slides.
And there is a question about Cal and Procure. So if they have a small business certification from other entities like the Port of Los Angeles, should we load them onto Cal eProcure?
You can, I think there is a place for you to add that into your profile. But is the Port of Los Angeles? I don't think they are a reciprocity. I mean, the county of LA is, the city of LA is, but I know that the Port of Long Beach is a reciprocity partner. So if you're looking to go do business with the Port of Long Beach, they're going to say, go get certified with the state of California. Um, and then come back. They're going to have you do that first. So that's how some entities work, but some may have their own certification process that they run first, like the Port of
Okay.
Los Angeles.
Yeah, so that may be something we take offline and then
Yeah,
yeah, so
look
if you
individually.
yeah, exactly. And then this one is regarding eligibility. Are nonprofit organizations eligible?
We do have nonprofit certifications. In terms of opportunities, we'd have to really look at it, but there is a nonprofit certification as well.
Great. And then this one is also eligibility. Is there also a process for sole proprietor, independent contractor, or freelancer to become state certified.
Absolutely. As long as you've got a legitimate business and you've got documents that identify that you have a business, yes.
Great. Okay. So I think we can proceed and then we can see. I
Okay.
think some of those questions will be answered later on. Yep.
Okay, great.
Yeah. Thanks, Chad.
Mhm. Okay, so now let's get into finding contract opportunities. There was some question as to, hey, in sam.gov. Well, this is not sam.gov. This is Cali Procure. This is state contracting. The upcoming contract opportunities are going to be listed in the California State Contracts Register, and that's going to be that's what's posted in the CSCR. I gotta make sure you understand are advertised competitive bid solicitations. Okay, the state contracts many other ways, uses many other acquisition methods to acquire goods and services. You need to understand that. I will talk about that later. So this is where you can find the CSCR in Cali Procure. I You've got the quick links. You can go in there and look. You can click start search. Ideally, you want to be logged in and registering because that will give you a little bit more capability within Cali Procure where you can save searches and identify opportunities that you want to keep track of. All right. So you go in, if you're logged in, you would just click start search. This is kind of what it looks like. You're going to click advanced search criteria, and it's going to open up some more opportunities for you. However, this is all well and good. But if you have created a good notification profile, in that notification profile, you're going to have UNSPSC codes. If you have good codes in there, you should automatically be emailed notifications based on the codes. Because when a buyer adds an opportunity into a solicitation, we call them events for some reason. When they add a solicitation into Cali Procure, they're gonna have to tag it with at least one UNSPSC code. And then what it does is it looks at the notification profiles, all the different 20,000 or more than 20,000 businesses that we have in Cali Procure. It looks at their notification profiles and it looks at the codes, the UNSPSC codes that they have in their profile. So if their solicitation code matches what you have in your profile, you're going to get an auto-generated email that says, "Hey, Mr. or Mrs. Business, here's an opportunity you may have an interest in. It's going to take you back to Cali Procure to log in and look at more information." And I'll show you that in the subsequent slides. However, you're always eligible to come back and run manual searches, maybe look in a specific service area or county or by certain codes. The only time that I think provides a great opportunity to do this kind of manual search is if you are a contractor and you have a license type, and the solicitation, when it's added, it may require a specific license type. Say you're an electrical contractor so you have a C10 license. If that solicitation requires a C10 license, they would mark that on the solicitation, and then you could easily find all those upcoming solicitations that require a C10 license. Now you can run these queries. The great thing is if you're logged in, like I recommended, you can save these searches. So you can just come back, run a query again another time. So you can also search by department if you want, but why limit yourself to one department? Maybe that's your target, I guess, but you could always search by individual departments. And event status, if you look it up there in the top right-hand corner, you can see posted. But if you use a toggle, it'll say in dropdown, it'll give you historical. So it'll actually show you some of those events that have passed already too. Okay, so you run a query, or if you just go into Cali Procure without even running any filters, this is kind of what the data looks like, the results look like. It's going to show you, kind of a line, one row of data, with an event ID, name, who the department is, and then the end date. And the end date is essentially the bid date. So that's pretty important. It auto filters or auto sorts to end date being the nearest one next. So with the bid date expiring, like for today, it would have March. What is today? March 24th. Yeah, March 24th, probably at 2 o'clock would be the next end date one for today. Anyhow, you click on, that one piques your interest, you click on that row of data, and then it's going to bring you to more event detail. And I've got a bunch of arrows on the screen here, and you may or may not be able to really read what they say. But this is kind of what the detail looks like. So here in this sample, you can see my prior reference to a contractor license type. You can see that there's license types because this is a concrete concrete bridge construction. So this construction contract. So for the arrows, first arrow, view event package. So you're going to be able to download bid documents. Okay, so where you're going to find more information, more points of contact, more information on bid dates, etc. If you are logged in, like we are in this case, you're going to be able to post a vendor ad where you can say, I'm a sub, I'm looking for, or I'm a prime and I'm looking for a sub, vice versa. Include your information. It's kind of self-explanatory when you log in to post an ad. You can view a vendor ad. You don't need to be logged in to view a vendor ad, but you do need to be logged in to kind of respond to vendor ads. Contact information. So the contact person listed here may not be a great point of contact. They might be actually a person that actually just posted this information up in Cali Procure. So they may not be the contracting officer. So that's why you may want to look at the event package. But you can start there maybe with that person. And then it's going to identify if there is a pre-bid conference. Obviously, mandatory, non-mandatory. Mandatory, obviously, you have to attend. Non-mandatory, I'd highly suggest you attend just because it gives you a good opportunity to get networking done and meet with the procurement officials. So that is how you do a little bit of you find information on advertised contracts. Now, let's look at how to do a little bit of past research. And again, that's you're going to find that in Cali Procure. But that is through the state contract and procurement registration system. We call it Skippers. So it's, it got state dollars and non-state dollars. So meaning, if there was federal funds involved and the total project value was a certain amount, we're going to include the total project value, not just the state's dollars. So you can do it to do a lot of great market research. So you don't need to be logged in for this one. You're logged in, it's fine. But you can, click on that big box in the lower left. My preference would say just use the quick links and do find past purchases skippers. If you click on the big button on the lower left, it's going to take you to this page. Then you click on that link. But if you just use the quick links drop down, it's going to take you straight to here. I would suggest that you use the advanced search criteria. Okay. And it's going to open up a lot more fields for you. And if you can see jumping back and you going forward, so advanced search criteria, now you've got the ability to search by UNSPSC codes. That window opens up. And you can search by multiple UNSPSC codes. Okay, so if you've kind of got 2 or 3 that are your prime work codes, those are ones you want to enter in. I would also suggest that maybe you modify that transaction start date where I've got that red boundary box because this data goes back to 2015. And this data includes all acquisition methods, unlike the CSCR. So like the CSCR, those upcoming opportunities, those are publicly advertised competitively bid solicitations. Now, what you're going to find here in this market research is you're going to find the state acquires lots and lots of goods and services by other means other than advertised competitively bid solicitations. So I ran a simple query here for some building facilities repair services. First column that I've highlighted with yellow is who the department is. The purchase document, a little bit of a link, you can go in there. So essentially every one of these solicitations that you're seeing from January 1, 2024, are all associated with this one UNSPSC code. Okay, it's got over 3,400 different opportunities or historical contracts, not upcoming again, historical. Give you a little bit of information on that first line item title, the value, as you can see there, the supplier name, who's the vendor, who was awarded the contract. And it does tell you if they're a certified firm. So you could go, if you see like an SB or a DVBE in that certification type, you could find that business in Cali Procure and look at their profile and get a better idea of how they built their profile. Then the other column that I've highlighted is the acquisition method, which is incredibly important for you to understand state contracting. So you can see here for these building facilities maintenance and repair services, you're seeing an exempt by law. I'm not exactly sure why. Informal. So that okay, it was competitive, but it was an informal process. It wasn't advertised like it was. It wasn't pushed into CSCR. They may have done phone calls to, reading from a script to find vendors. You can see a statewide contract. That's through a leverage procurement agreement. I don't want to talk about that too much, but you're going to see some others in there. Fair and reasonable, super important for you as a small business. Those are contracts under $20,000. Never, ever, ever will they be advertised in the CSCR or in Cali Procure. Okay, so it's where you're going to have to do a little bit of marketing, and in subsequent slides I'm going to talk about that. So this is just a great way to look at, okay, how does the state buy what I sell, whether it's good or services, and who buys it, and then you can develop your marketing plan from there. So any questions, Christina?
Let me see. I think most actually there was, if you can reiterate the eligibility of a nonprofit, because someone had, I think may have missed it. Yes. So whether
You
nonprofits
know
can get
what?
certified.
Send me a link directly. I know just Chad dot Wright at dgs.ca.gov. Because honestly, I don't have the information at the front of my brain, the eligibility requirements for nonprofits. So
Okay.
I'm going to have to do a
And
little
then
research for you.
got it. Okay. And then what about SBA reciprocity? Is there reciprocity with
No,
SBA?
no, there is
Okay.
not.
Okay. And then this is in particular, does the state sub out automotive services for their equipment?
Sure.
Okay. And yeah, and a lot of it are just very specific to the industry.
Okay.
So
Yeah. If you have
yeah,
questions, specific questions, do not ask them here. I'm going to have a QR later in my presentation where you can schedule consultations with me or one of my 6 coworkers, and we can go look at your individual situation and go over your individual case and give you some one-on-one guidance
yeah,
in marketing your business to the state.
yeah, exactly. And then there was another question about the timing. So how long does it take? Um, let's say if they have all their
Oh, if you've got
information
everything,
already.
if you have everything, if you've gathered all your documents, you've uploaded them, and you've answered all the questions, it's like a 5-page questionnaire, online questionnaire. If you've answered the questions appropriately, it's in the instant approval. Conditional instant approval. I mean, there is the potential to go back and audit. But if you've uploaded documents and you've answered the questions like the system likes you to answer them, when you click submit, you're going to get a pop-up that says, "Hey, congratulations," and you're going to get a little green little window that pops up that says you've been approved. Now, if not, they're going to reach out and ask you for some clarifying documents or information to resolve your application. Most of that is done within 2 weeks. Most applications are resolved within 2 weeks. So it's up. They're going to send you they're going to send you an email. You need to reply. You don't reply. You don't reply. You don't reply. Eventually, your application gets thrown into the trash bin. So you need to be responsive when they do reach out.
All right. Yep. So I think we can proceed.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Okay. So I talked about you do a little bit of market research in Skippers where we just were. And then your next step is going to be going here to these small business advocates, because every department, and I had a couple of slides ago, all the different departments that were buying those construction services, or they're going to buy office paper or whatever it is that they're buying. You're going to see that department name. You're going to want to understand the acquisition method, how they acquired those goods and services. But then you're going to want to reach out to the small business advocates if you're a certified firm. They are, because they are a state employee that works in purchasing. And there's a SB advocate for any department that spends at least $100,000 a year. So they are there to support their department in reaching its obligations at 25% and 3%. That 25% for small business contracting, 3% for DBE contracting. They're there to help their department reach that goal. And they're there to help other buyers find certified firms to reach that goal. So, advocates are going to be a key for you. All right. They're going to help you, they're going to seek out new certified businesses as well. So they may go in and say, let me find all the new certified firms and see if there's any matches for us. They can assist you with prompt payment, which I believe I had already mentioned. So small business advocates are a great point of contact for you as a new certified firm in finding opportunities with that particular department. Okay. So when you contact an advocate, you're going to want to have your capability statement done. If you don't know what a capability statement is, plainly, it's essentially a resume for your business. I think PACE may provide that kind of assistance to you if you want to help developing a capability statement. AI could help you develop a capability statement, especially if you have a web page or some documents that it can read. But you're going to want to reach out to that advocate with your capability statement, but with your certification ID number. Make sure you include that so they know you are a certified firm, because they're going to look you up. If you aren't a certified firm, they are under no obligation to assist you if you're not a certified firm. Send them an introductory email, letting them know that you've done a little bit of research on their department. You know what they buy, you know how they buy, so you want to be considered for their next a fair and reasonable contract, or if an SB option contract comes up, or whatever the case may be. So it shows that you've done some market research on the front end before you've reached out. You're not just mass mailing every advocate. You've done a little bit of homework. Okay. So you're going to reach out to them. You can find the advocates. You can come back to Cali Procure. That's why I said you want to mark Cali Procure. It's one thing you're going to know. Click that Find Training and Resources button, and then scroll down. And then under the Research and Marketing heading, you're going to contact a small business and DVB advocate. It's actually going to take you to the DGS webpage, because Cali Procure is Fiscal, DGS. So I'm getting all confusing here. I realize, because the state and government contracting is confusing. We don't do it on purpose. I apologize, but it is a challenge. I realize that. So this is the information on the small business advocates. You can read about them a little bit. Click on that link there to download, or open rather, this program. And this program is going to have information on the advocates. So you've got the department name, scrolled through on the right-hand side. And if I was able to scroll to the right, you would see contact information for the advocate name. So, because here you can see the very first one is Belinda Lidstrom. And for the Office of Administrative Law, she is the small business advocate for that department. A couple of columns to the right that got cut off on my opportunity on my window here. It's going to be her email address, her phone number. You can see her address there, and they're going to even have their page for procurement typically in there. Great information. You can find everybody there. Now, how they are, the nomenclature that they've used to put these agencies in here can be a little bit, hit and miss. So you may need, in the top right-hand corner, you can see department name. You can start typing. If you have a particular department that you're looking for, you can start typing in part of it, and it'll sort through the results for you. The little red checkbox I've got there under marking true. That's for SB DVBE first policy. What that means is that means if I had checked the box, which I didn't in this slide scenario, it would it would shorten the list of departments. I think there's about 70 or so different departments that have a formalized small business first policy. What that means is that those departments are doing what they can to include small businesses and or DVBEs as much as possible in their procurement opportunities. They're looking at it from step one. How can we include small businesses? And they have a formalized policy for that. Department to department, it's going to vary. Okay. And what exactly that policy is and how they enact it. But I know at Department of General Services, what we do is any contract under $250,000, we try to go SB option, that type of contract, or DVB option contract first for anything under 250. Now, if they can't satisfy and find enough vendors to get a responsible and responsive offer, they will open it up to non-SBs after that. But that's how DGS works. How my one department and the 200 or so departments within the state. That's how we work. Okay. What's great here too is that export is a new feature. You can take all of this data and you can download it into an Excel file. And then you can run your mail merges as you see fit. Okay. Great information, great resource for you there. Okay. Do we have any questions on the advocates?
No questions on the advocates.
Okay.
Yeah, so you can proceed.
Okay, great. Okay, moving on. I'm going to talk about, we do have an emergency registry as well for small businesses. The state wants to include small businesses and DVBEs as much as possible in emergency contracting. This is actually separate from Cali Procure. It's a separate portal, separate registration process. You need to be registered as a small business, certified small business first, or certified DVBE first before entering your information in here. So if you get certified today, wait until tomorrow before you try to register in this system, because it needs one day to sync the data, make sure it's got the firms listed in there. But basically, what it is, it's a list of certified businesses that the State Department buyers use to try to contact businesses when they have an emergency contract. And so, what is an emergency contract? Obviously, if you do not answer the phone between 5 and 9, and you would not want to work on Saturdays and Sundays, do not consider entering your business in the emergency registry. Only do that if you are willing to answer the phone between 5 p.m. and 9 a.m. and work on Saturdays and Sundays and work overnights, then consider the emergency registry. And depending upon really what you do, obviously as well. So here are some kind of like overall categories that we have. There's more than listed, but you just kind of think about it. What could be an emergency? An IT situation could be an emergency. A plumbing leak is an emergency. Obviously, all the terrible fires and natural disasters that we sometimes experience here in the state of California, where we need to set up base camps or get debris removed and whatnot. All of that is, those are types of emergency services that the state may need to acquire. And those are not going to be advertised in the CSCR. They're going to reach out to you directly after they found you in the emergency registry and say, "Hey, Mrs. Business, Mr. Business, can you be in Fresno in 1 hour?" And if you say no, but your profile indicates such, it's not a good look. Okay, so you want to make sure that you can do what you're saying you're doing in this emergency registry. So to do it, you're going to have your certification number. You're going to identify those emergency categories that you work in. And then you're going to get a little bit more descriptive. Like if you said marked logistics, well, you're going to need to identify what kind of equipment that you have that you can haul things around, what kind of trucks you have, what kind of vans you have, whatever, what you are able to move on a moment's notice. Obviously, you're gonna have to include your business address and contact information, emergency contact, primary contact information, and really where you can provide that emergency service. So, maybe you can do logistics throughout the state, on a regular business, on regular business, but maybe not for emergency work. Maybe you want to kind of narrow your scope just for the emergency registry purposes. So, um, yeah, so you're going to get there. You're going to click on, again, you're going to come back to Cali Procure, click on Sell to the State, and then you'll find the SB DVBE Emergency Contracting portal. And there, it's going to take you to that page, and you're going to fill out an application, and we're going to review the application and say yes or no. And if we say no, we're going to tell you why we say no and ask for you to provide more detail and more information. Okay. So no more slides on emergency registry. So now we're going to make an awkward transition to commercially useful function. So commercially useful function. So what that means, we call it CUF. That means all businesses that are SBs and DVBs need to perform a commercially useful function. That means you you're executing a distinct element of the contract. You manage the work, you supervise the work, you negotiate your business prices. You don't have somebody else, a prime contractor telling you what you need to charge, et cetera. You are in complete control of your business. You negotiate quantity, quality, price, working conditions, et cetera. And you don't subcontract, a portion of the work greater than what's kind of normal. I'm familiar with the construction industry, so I know that, you have construction managers, and then they essentially contract all the work out, 99%, 95% of the work out. Now, sometimes, there's the construction manager operates as a prime contractor as well and performs the work, or a good portion of the work as well. And they subcontract out the electrical and the plumbing and whatever else. So you need to make sure that you are performing a commercially useful function. So you are not performing a commercially useful function. It's essentially as if you're being used as a pass-through to obtain the appearance of SP participation. Remember how I indicated that a prime contractor can take advantage and apply your 5% up to $50,000 bid preference if you are a certified firm and they are not, but you're working for them. They can apply your 5% bid preference. Now, if they don't utilize you, then that's another issue. Okay, now you're not performing CUF, and that prime contractor is probably in violation of contracting laws. If you're a sub and you're listed on a contract, you're going to be notified that you have been listed on this contract. So you should know that then you will be contacted by that prime contractor to perform X, Y, and Z services at some time in the future. So here you can identify when CUF. So, but basically, as long as you're forthright and honest, then you're fine. CUF is there just basically to make sure the playing field is level and to protect the integrity of the small business DBBE program and really protect the other certified firms in there. Okay, any questions on emergency registry or CUF?
I think the only question I do have on the emergency registry is how long before before an application is approved or denied?
It's usually every day because I do see that. I don't manage them, but I do see them come in. But we have staff that rotates and looks at those applications as they come in every day, and will provide the the yes or the no. And if it's a no, you are they do indicate why. And I apologize. I'm not sure if you may have to fully reapply again with a more detailed information. It's not. I don't think you can modify what you've already submitted. But yeah, it's every day. But again, get certified on day one. Day two, apply for the emergency registry if you're eligible, if you want to do that work. So
Right.
don't apply for the emergency the same day you get certified.
Mm. Okay, there's some other questions, but they're not related to either CUF or the emergency
Okay.
registry. So should
Okay.
I?
Oh,
Okay,
sure.
we
I
can
mean,
do
if they're
it.
relevant, that I mean, I can answer them, so long as they're not too business specific. Specific. The
Yeah,
more.
so maybe this is the one that can be answered. And it deals with, so this person has a New York State certified firm, and is there any way that they can apply to qualify for California certification? So if you can talk a little bit and quickly about the ownership of the, yeah,
So
the ownership need.
the owners, if it, for small business, the owners must reside and pay taxes in the state of California, and the business must be located or headquartered rather in the state of California. So you're paying your business taxes in the state of California to become small business in the state of California. Now your firm, now if you're, for DVBE, that's different. Owners must reside in the state and pay their taxes in the state, but the business could be out of state, but just needs to be in the United States for DVBE. So New York, small business, might be a problem
Mhm.
to do that in the state of California. You could get, federal certification, again through SAM, at the federal level, but again, those are federal contracts.
Okay, great. And if I'm understanding this question correctly, is there a source for how much the state has or has not met their small business goals? So
So
yeah,
overall, the
is
state has hit its goal. In one of the first introductory slides, the state has done that overall. And I did indicate that departments within it haven't. You can find that in what's called, you go on to dgs.ca.gov. So DGS, Department of General Services.ca.gov, and do a search for Consolidated Annual Report. That is a report that we run, that we perform every year, and we're almost done with this upcoming year. And we look at the state's numbers as a whole, but then we look at the individual departments within the state that are held to this obligation, and you can see which departments missed their small business goal or missed their DVBE goal or hit. You can see either way. You can see that information again. Consolidated annual report.
great. Thank you for sharing that resource.
Mhm.
So then are there any requirements typically the same on bid solicitations, RFQs, RFPs, or related opportunities for the state?
I don't understand the question.
Yeah, so I think the question is like, let's say for RFQs, RFPs, and any other opportunities, are the requirements typically the same? So I'm assuming it's
Uh,
like what they're looking for. Yeah,
you're going to have to look at the individual contract.
yeah,
It's
exactly.
gonna it's gonna come down to that individual contract. You're gonna have to open it up and you're gonna have to read it. You're gonna have to ask the contract administrator that's listed in that contract. You're gonna have to ask them the questions. I can't ask because I that is not me. I can just I can show you, how to find the opportunities, but individual questions on those contracts are best directed to the contract administrator.
Okay, great. And then last question is yes, there will be a recording of this presentation. And then what we'll do is we'll send out an email after this as a follow-up with the link to the recording. So,
Great.
and then that's it. Yeah, I think we've answered all the questions so far.
Okay. Okay. Just kind of wrapping up here now. So I know I've given you a lot of information. Just kind of, hitting the bullet points here on what we have talked about. All of these different organizations, or I'm sorry, all of these different uh, topics that we've covered. Just want to kind of hit on them again. Again, Cali Procure. Start there at caliprocure.ca.gov. Everything else will flow from that. Resources. Well, you're working through one today at Pace. Pace, just like these other entities, get funding from the state. They get funding from the federal government, and are there to provide free business resources assistance to you. And we provide free assistance to you at the state through my office, through DGS as well. All right. So take advantage of those free resources. You're not there alone. You've got help. So you can all, and I've referenced this many times, schedule a consultation. We can block, 30 minutes and we can talk about state contracting. We can help you find contract opportunities. We can look at your Cali profile, make sure we feel is good and relevant, and give you some tips and tricks on, finding opportunities or improving your profiles. So schedule that consultation. Um, Other workshops, you can scan the QR code. You'll see it's our events calendar. You're going to see the workshop that we've got with PACE next week, where I believe it is Teresa and John doing an online certification. We will sometimes have them in person as well. But there's other workshops, so we've got this one. We've got an I'm certified now what, and then we've got a kind of a deep dive on state contracting where we talk about SB option and fair and reasonable contracts and California multiple award schedules and all those different types of acquisition methods that you need to kind of make sure you've got some education on. And we do have a social media presence. It is not big. It is relatively small. It is on LinkedIn. But we do have some great tips on how to do business with the state. On Tuesdays, we typically have a Tuesdays Essentials post where we highlight some upcoming opportunities. Wednesday's watch list, where we list our upcoming events that we are participating in, both virtual, like this webinar, and in-person events. So take advantage of those resources, and we like to highlight some of the information that you share. If you are a small business and you've got some success stories, we'd love to highlight what you do, your successes with the state, and in terms of chasing opportunities and participating, getting contracts with the state. Um, so lastly, thank you so much for participating. Once again, here's my contact information. I am going to share, I believe I've already shared it with you, Christina, right? The PDF of the slides. I'm going to send you a one-page document as well, Christina, so that you can share that with the folks, which will include some links to some of the topics and information that I've touched on. And I think there's great one in there is the reciprocity partners, which is a great one for small businesses to leverage their state certification at the local level. But again, I think that is it from me. Unless we
Okay,
have
well,
any other wrap up comments or questions, we are good to go.
yeah, I think we're good to go. So thank you so much, everyone, for your time. And then I'll, as always, thank you, Chad, for the wealth of information. I always learn something new. So what we're gonna do is after this, we're gonna have a follow-up email, but with a link to the recorded webinar, and then also Chad's one pager, and then also his slides. And then we
Okay,
hope to see you next week. So we have session 2 next week on certifications, and then session 3 after that. So thank you so much, everyone, and hope to see you and have a good rest of your day. Thank you.
great. Thank you guys so much for participating. Have a good day.